going on, guys? It's your boy the Markham Knight here. Today's video is going to be all about the Superman of Earth 23. This is Calvin Ellis. Now, let me give you a quick character reference for this figure. This literally showed up in just a few issues. He is the Superman of Earth 23. For those of you who read DC, you know there's a big multiverse and there are different versions of Superman and different Earths within the multiverse. Now, this is the version from Earth 23, and his actual alter ego is that he is the President of the United States, and believe it or not, the actual writers have admitted that he is based on Barack Obama himself. So this is Barack version of Superman. So he is very, very cool. I definitely needed this figure in my collection. He is one of my favorite from the entire multiverse line. He did show up in just a few issues of Action Comics and Superman comics and stuff, but he also showed up in the Multiversity story. So if you want to read more about him and his adventures and stuff within the multiverse, do so in Multiversity. It was written by Grant Morrison. It's a pretty good read. So now let's jump into some sculpt details. This guy looks really, really cool. Let's just focus in on the face. Now this is very comic accurate. It does look really, really solid. As you can see, the suit, it is done really well. You have that high collar. Now this is sculpted a little bit, but it is also done with great paint applications. Now this suit does look very, very comic accurate, very perfectly done. Even the cape is just attached to him. It's not kind of tucked in anywhere, which is reminiscent of the actual comic book as well. So it's done very, very well. So as you can see, sculpt details here are done pretty well. For a Mattel figure, this is about as good as you will get. So let's jump into a little bit of articulation now. For the head, he doesn't get down that far. He doesn't get up too high. And then he does get side to side. And he tilts his head just ever so slightly. It's not really something that you're going to notice much. He is on a ball hinge, but he still doesn't get around too much. It's about as high as he'll go, is about the most articulation you'll get out of his head. Now at the torso, we do have a little bit of an ab crunch. He gets back about that far, not too much. He gets forward about that far, again, still not too much, but it's something. Now he does have a bicep swivel over here. He does have an open butterfly joint over here at the shoulder. His shoulders would rotate all the way around, but the cape is hindering it. You don't want to mess around with the cape too much, so I'm not going to play with that too much. You have a single joint at the elbow, so you can bend that far, and then you have rotation at the wrist, but no other wrist articulation of any kind. And then at the waist, you have absolutely nothing. He looks like he would twist at the waist, but he does not, so don't bother pushing it too much. He gets his leg up about that high. The cape does hinder him, otherwise he could get his leg pretty far if you move the cape back a little bit. His knee is just a single joint knee. He does have a thigh cut though, so he does have that there. And then at the ankle, he gets back only that far. And then he gets up about that high. So that's a little bit better. But that's as much as you'll get for articulation. It is a classic Mattel figure. These are about as much articulation as you will get in a Mattel figure. There's not really too much more than that. So you get what you paid for. But anyways, guys, let's get him ready for a size comparison. So I'm going to just get him standing straight up over here. Now, the Mattel figures do stand well. That's one of their big pluses over the McFarlane figures. The McFarlane figures, you do have to play with it a lot to get them standing perfectly unless it's a larger figure. But now, let's measure this guy out. So, as you can see, he stands just over the 6-inch mark. He's about at the 6-inch mark, actually, right there. So he is in scale pretty well with most Mattel figures, most things in the multiverse. Let's just get him standing straight in the middle as high as he can. And let's get him standing some other figures here. So first thing we can put him next to is the DC UE Superman. And this is Henry Cavill. So let's get them standing side by side. As you can see, they're about almost exactly the same height. So they look pretty good together. Since we're already doing the DC UC, let's get him next to the DC UC Wonder Woman. And there you are. Together they look pretty good. Let's just move her a little closer to him. Yeah, she looks pretty good next to him. She's a little bit shorter than him, so she scales with him really, really well. Now let's remove Cavill over here. And let's bring in Batfleck next to him there. And as you can see, Batfleck is just a little bit taller than him, which is pretty consistent with Batfleck being taller than Henry Cavill's Superman. So that fits pretty well. And then we can remove Wonder Woman. And let's bring in Dr. Fate, also a part of that multiverse line. And he fits in pretty well. He's just a tad bit taller than him. And that's probably just because of the top of the helmet. But he looks really good with him there too. And then we can remove Batfleck. And let's get Super Doom in here, which I do love next to these figures, and he does scale well with him because he is larger than him. I really was hoping that Super Doom would be really large, but he does look good with him. So as you guys can see, he scales really well with any of the multiverse figures. He would scale really well with any 6-inch figure in general. I don't feel like it would have to be a multiverse figure, but if you have multiverse figures, it would work out perfectly. Anyways, guys, let's talk about him a little bit. This is it's the only figure with Calvin Ellis I've ever seen. I'm really happy they made him. I really like that they went in a different direction. They started doing some random stuff at the end of the line and stuff like that with Mattel's figures in the multiverse line, and they're doing some fun new things. And this is one of my favorite figures that came out from this line. Calvin Ellis is really cool in the comic books, and I'm glad that they did him like as good as a Mattel figure will ever be in these figures out here to do, whether it's the comic book line or whether it's the actual movies and stuff. He's done really well. I would love to see him be played by a character in the actual movies, in the TV shows, whatever. You can put him in any way, and he has done really well. He looks really cool, and it's based on Barack Obama, so it's really cool to have something like that, not just in DC Comics, but also have him in the actual DC figures and stuff that you can put on your shelf, so you can see Barack's Superman next to Henry Cavill's Superman, next to other comic book Supermen, and everything of the sort. Anyways, guys, have you read him in the comic books? If not, what do you think of him? What do you think of these figures? And tell me what you think.
This is the Markham Knight, and I need you to like, comment, and subscribe.